Hi, everybody. I'm Evan Lawson.
I'm Emma Colangelo.
Welcome to When Our People Vote. I'm so excited for tonight, and I hope you are too, especially because of the election we have ahead of us.
I feel like it's going to be messy, Evan.
It's definitely going to be a little bit messy, Emma, and that's why we're here, because we have the power to make sure it's not that messy.
That is true. Some of you may have heard that we might not even know the results of this election on November 3rd.
First of all, I hope I'm not the only person that thinks that's crazy, but that's definitely crazy. And if it happens, you better believe that Trump will use every tool in his arsenal to incite confusion and fear.
And that's like exactly why Florida is so important. Florida has 29 electoral votes, making us the third highest electoral vote in the entire country. We make up basically 11% of the 270 electoral votes that Joe Biden needs to win. If he wins Florida, Trump's route to victory gets really, really slim. And if we win early, then Trump can try to incite all the confusion and fear that he wants, but it's not really going to make a difference.
But one thing that we do have to keep in mind is that Florida is a swing state for a reason. So that means we go back and forth between both parties. And it's not because we're undecided. It's just because some elections bring out more Republican voters and other elections bring out more Democratic voters. So sometimes we can't control it.
Yeah. And that's exactly why we're here today, because we need to come out big, because we can't take 4 more years. We can't take 5 more minutes of Trump's administration hurting our communities. And that's why we're here tonight, to call people to go out to vote. Our people, your people. We are calling you tonight.
Bet. So starting now, we're going to try to contact 50,000 Floridians in the next 90 minutes. Yes, the next 90 minutes. If you see this number on your screen, our goal is to reach 50,000 at the end of this event.
In the meantime, we're going to have some amazing guests talking about the different things that matter to us in this election and the cool things that people have been doing within our communities.
Yes. Hey, CJ.
Hey, ladies. How's it going? Hey, everyone. My name is CJ. I will be your guide to the phone banking rooms, the text banking rooms, and I'll also keep you updated on all of the progress that we're making tonight.
CJ, you think we're going to hit our goal?
Are we going to hit our goal? Damn right we're going to hit our goal. But if you would like to help us hit our goal, go to fl4all.vote/whenourpeoplephone to join our phone banks.
Thanks, CJ. Talk to you soon.
Okay, before we move on to the next part of our program, here is a quick message from our sponsors.
Attention, fellow Americans. During the COVID-19 pandemic, are you finding it hard to live and afford your daily needs like food, water, shelter, and safety? Can't afford rent, maybe lost your house, or maybe contracted the virus and now have insurmountable medical bills?
Thanks to COVID-19, I lost my dream job after contracting the virus. I was drowning in $90,000 worth of medical bills, but due to my stimulus check of $1,200, I now only have $88,800 worth of medical bills. I now have $90,000 worth of medical bills.
After 6 months of no clientele, I lost my house, but that's okay. With my $1,200 stimulus check, I bought a brand new car. Saves me a lot of time, because all of my clothes are in my back seat now. Thanks, Donald Trump.
Due to hurricane season, storms are completely out of character to my roof. Although the damages were estimated to cost about $6,000, I was able to patch it up with my $1,200 stimulus check. Thanks, Donald Trump.
I don't feel like I could laugh, but
That was crazy.
wow. Anyway, a lot of people don't know this, but we're not just voting for our president or any other candidate on this ballot. We are also voting for important amendments that are going to affect our day-to-day life. Evan, did you know that we are actually voting to raise the minimum wage in Florida?
All right, I'm gonna be honest. Yes, I did know that. But to be honest, I heard about Amendment 2 for the first time here. And many of my friends have no idea. I mean, now they do because I informed them, but they had no idea that there's an amendment on the ballot to raise the minimum wage for thousands of people in Florida if a majority of us vote yes. I wonder why we don't know that, Emma.
Well, I think we know the answer to that, Evan, because if we knew about it, then we'd vote yes on it, and then they would have to pay us more. So they don't want us to know about that. That's why.
True.
Okay, here. I'm going to show you a video to show you who exactly would be the most affected by this and just give you a little bit more details.
But
not only will it be my first time participating in our democracy, but Florida is considering a ballot for $15 minimum wage. And this would be very life-changing for me because the extra income will help my family make ends meet.
Why I think the minimum wage should be raised is because of the economy. The economy is high. They raised the minimum wage from $8.45 to $15, and the needs of the people will be met. They're hardworking people, and they need a chance to pay their bills and have money left over.
And I'm seeing an increase in eviction notices. It scared me because it made me feel like if I ever get sick or end up missing a paycheck, I could lose everything I worked for.
We're not making enough hours. Our hours has been cut. I only make $9.60.
Black and brown communities have consistently had low poverty wages, and on top of that, little to no source to health care. That's why it's so important for us to go out and be active.
Fast food, healthcare workers, janitorial, airport workers are all keeping the economy up and moving during this COVID-19 pandemic. So it's very important that you guys get out and vote for Amendment 2 that's going to be on the ballot for this year. That is how you all can thank us for working during this pandemic.
Due to the pandemic, so many people has lost their job. They have not been given enough hours to pay their bills. I myself have a car, can't afford my insurance. I get sick. I have good days and bad days. I have been in the hospital, but not for COVID-19. I can't afford to stay home with making $9.60.
You shouldn't have to work 2 jobs just to make ends meet, put a roof over your family's head, or food on the table, or just do any of the regular necessities that you need throughout everyday life. It's very hard working or making just above minimum wage. So $15 an hour would be a big help. So make sure you get out and vote Amendment 2.
We deal with people in our neighborhood who can't afford basic housing. As a matter of fact, many of our programs are affordable housing programs, and the reason we have to do them is because of people that are experiencing wage oppression.
My vote is essential because essential workers have been keeping Florida economy running during the COVID-19 pandemic. You can thank us for our hard work by voting yes on Amendment 2. To give us a much-deserved and needed raise. Tell your friends and family and co-workers to vote yes on Amendment 2.
Please treat us like we are essential workers. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Again, please go and vote in November.
honestly, we owe so much to our essential workforce. Like where would we be honestly without them? Like, think about this whole time during COVID, all of that. Like where would we be without them? Where would our economy be without them? We owe them a raise.
We absolutely owe them a raise. So we know that voting yes on Amendment 2 will have the following impact. It'll raise the minimum wage for over 200,000 Floridians, which will raise wages for 2 million Floridians. And that will create an economic boost for millions of families, which will impact our entire state. But now, quickly, Evan, I just want to give a chance to engage with the people who are watching with us right now. If you are watching with us, we want to see you. Send us your voter selfies. Send them to telethonselfie@gmail.com, and we're going to put it up here, and we're going to talk.
Yes. We want to see you guys. We want to see you participating and stuff, you know?
Just make sure you tell us your name and where you are located.
Yes. Yes. Also, Emma, you know what's crazy? When people have more money, they pay their rents.
Mm-hmm.
They shop more. I know I shop more. And the local economy benefits overall.
Exactly. Voting yes on Amendment 2 literally is voting to raise your salary. And I'm just not sure exactly why anyone would vote no on that.
I'm not sure either. CJ, how's it going?
It's going great, Evan. Thanks for asking. And I will also have a full update for you in regards to where we are on our calls and our texts. But in the meantime, do not forget, if you want to help by making calls or sending texts from your home, you can volunteer with us at any point between now and E-Day. You just go to www.floridaforall.vote/volunteer. Sign up.
Thank you, CJ. And now we just scratched the surface on how a $15 minimum wage will impact our state, right? So let me introduce two of our brilliant community organizers who can give us all details. Kayla and Mr. Elton, take it away. Hey.
Hey guys, I'm Kayla. I'm a regional organizer with the Florida for All Coalition.
Hello, I'm Elton. I'm the political organizer with Organized Florida and the Florida for All Coalition.
So like Emma and Evan were saying, and like we just watched that wonderful video about, Floridians have a chance to affect change that will directly impact us by voting on Amendment 2 to raise our state's minimum wage to $15 an hour.
That's right. And as you know, it will be a part of our regular ballot this election, and it will change the lives of Floridians across the state.
Right now, we have a minimum wage of $8.56, which is less than $1,400 a month. It's not a livable wage in Florida for a full-time employee. And in Florida, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment is almost $1,027 a month. Almost 200,000 workers in this state earn the minimum wage, and many of them are their family's sole breadwinners. 72.2% of Floridians with income below the poverty level would see their household incomes rise if we got Amendment 2 passed this election.
And Kayla, just last week, it was reported that 8 million Americans have fallen into poverty since May. And it's unbelievable to imagine that the people living on such a low wage when the cost of living in Florida is skyrocketing. So let me ask you this, Kayla, what would you tell people who don't know about Amendment 2 to convince them to vote yes on Amendment 2?
I would tell them that this is a very unique opportunity for us. We can literally go to the polls or mail our ballots in or drop our ballots off at an early voting drop box, and voting yes on Amendment 2 would raise our salaries. That's a very unique opportunity that we have in this state, this election. We've been trying to fight for this for a while. We've been trying to fight through legislation, through governors, through our processes, and that has not worked. They have refused to do it. So now that we can finally make this a reality and it's as easy as voting yes on Amendment 2, I think it's time that we do that.
No, I agree. So who do you think would be most affected if Amendment 2 was passed?
Oh, Elton, who do I know would be most affected if this amendment was passed? And I can definitely say that these are our workers, our 2.5 million Floridians, which is 1 in 4 of our workers in Florida would see this increase in pay. So when we think about our tourism and hospitality industry, those are 2 of the largest industries contributing to our GDP in this state, and they're notorious in not paying living wages to their employees. So raising the minimum wage would lift them up, would lift up 2.5 million Floridians approximately, and then also lifting up our Black workers. Almost 1 in 4 Black workers in the United States live in Florida, Texas, or Georgia. According to the Economic Policy Institute, a federal minimum wage of $15 an hour would increase wages for 38.1% of all Black workers, and that's federally. So let's think about the impact that that could even have on just our state.
Right, right. So let me ask you this, Kayla. Does COVID-19 play into the necessity of passing Amendment 2 at all?
Absolutely. COVID-19 has shown us how a lot of these cracks in our system, they have already been there. They just haven't been as vocal as they are now. But we can see that our essential workers, meaning especially our fast food workers, our hospital workers, janitorial, airport workers, higher education, farm workers, school support staff, and nursing home workers, they're keeping our economy running. They're keeping our communities afloat. And for some reason, they're still living paycheck to paycheck. So they've had to risk getting sick. They've had to work on the front lines. They've even had to watch coworkers get sick and worry about getting sick themselves and passing that on to their loved ones and the others in their household, all because they can't miss work. So they deserve a living wage, and a living wage would allow them to work that one full-time job and have it be enough to provide for their families. So if we're saying our workers are essential, they deserve to be paid like they're essential.
Absolutely. And something to look out for on the ballot. I saw there was a big, bold warning meant to deter voters from voting yes on Amendment 2. And it reads like this. This proposed constitutional amendment is estimated to have a net negative impact on the state budget. This impact may result in higher taxes or a loss of government services in order to maintain a balanced state budget as required by the Constitution. What do you think about that?
I'm not seeing the reason to put that threatening warning on this amendment. I think it's really important that we remember that our government and especially our representatives, the people that we voted in this democracy to protect us and to serve us and to take care of our communities, they shouldn't be putting that kind of threatening language on the ballot. And they shouldn't be trying to tell Floridians that we have to choose between a living wage or higher taxes and loss of government services. So there's nothing that we shouldn't be punished for needing a living wage. So we need to still vote yes on Amendment 2, despite that warning that they're putting there to try to deter.
Absolutely. And also the passage of Amendment 2 would drastically increase the quality of life of so many Floridians. Throughout this pandemic, it's been the essential workers, the healthcare workers, the food industry, retail and service workers that have made sure that our needs are being met. And all of us need to show up for the essential workers and make sure that their needs are being met also.
I agree. And when we look at how some people in this state are being paid, as of 2018 in Florida, the top 1% had an average income of $1.54 million, which is 39.5 times as much as the $39,094 average income for the 99%. So the disparity is so large because average Florida wages for the bottom 99% are below the national average. This is our opportunity to finally make a lasting difference in our pay for all Floridians.
Thank you for that, Caleb. Right now, I'm very excited to introduce Sammy, who is a member of our essential workforce from Orlando, Florida, who can tell us exactly how Amendment 2 would affect their life. Hey, Sammy, how are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, hi. Thank you all so much for having me. I'm 26. I grew up in Winter Park, Florida, and I've seen some pretty drastic changes to the economy in Orlando. Working class people have not seen the benefit of our growing economy for a long time. And growing up in Orlando, I've seen rent for 2-bedroom apartments being $825 a month to now rent for a 1-bedroom apartment being over $1,000 easily throughout the Orlando area. And I'm fortunate to make a little more than the minimum wage compared to some of my fellow workers, but I still make less than $15 an hour. I make $10 an hour working at Starbucks. And that's a big company that can afford to pay me more. So I guess that gives you a little bit of background. You know, I'm from here, and I know what it's like to see the economy change, and then not reap the benefits of that.
Yeah.
It's been like that for too long in Florida.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. And with you being a strong advocate for Amendment 2, how would you tell people who don't know about Amendment 2 that they should vote for it?
So one thing I will say is that people's lives are at stake here. It's become harder and harder to live in Orlando and throughout many areas in Florida on the kind of budget that people are expected to live on for less than $15 an hour. I had a glimpse of what more pay can look like during the beginning of the COVID pandemic because Starbucks temporarily offered me an extra $3 an hour for the COVID pandemic. At the height of the pandemic, because nationally it was going down, they did cut that pay and they cut my hours. So I saw the dramatic decrease in standard of living that I had in that moment. I went from being able to afford more groceries and being able to really live slightly more comfortably in a way that I wasn't worried about what was going on paycheck to paycheck for a couple of months, and then had that taken away from me, had my hours cut, had my rate of pay cut. And I can tell you that even just those $3 made a huge difference. When I first got that money, I didn't realize what kind of impact it was making because my amount of hours also increased right before the COVID pandemic. So I didn't really have a good picture of what the change was. After the fact, I have a really good picture, and it's kind of disturbing to see how much people are struggling. And I can only imagine how much worse that is for my fellow workers in the custodial industry, in nurses, people who are making like barely not livable wages, lower than mine. Like my friends who are working at McDonald's making the minimum wage, the literal minimum wage. So people need this kind of money to pay for their food, to pay for their kids, to pay for their clothes on their back, to be able to have a place to live and shower. I don't think people are asking for much. People are asking to be able to live lives with decency. And when we have rent that is over $1,000 a month, and when we have groceries costing so much, it's really hard to live by on this kind of wage. Especially when you consider that a lot of these people are not even making full-time because their employers don't want to give them health benefits.
Hey, Sammy, you said a whole lot there. And I tell you, if I didn't know about Amendment 2, I'd definitely vote yes for it. Yeah. But let me ask you this. Let me have you focus a little bit more on how it has affected you personally, or how would the passing of Amendment 2 affect you personally?
Yeah, so for me personally, I think it would make a big difference. I have spent a long time living with my father, and now I'm staying with a friend, and you know, I'm really barely making it by on $10 an hour. And I really want to emphasize that because I'm making what people would be making when we pass Amendment 2. I'm not even making $15 an hour, and I'm making $10 an hour, what we would make as when this passes. And I'm struggling to get by. I can't afford to live by myself. I'm a grown adult. I'm 26 years old. I'm not a 16-year-old like people often think. You know, when people think of someone who works at McDonald's or Starbucks or in another low-wage job, people think of people who, like a kid who has a summer job to get through and do what they want over the summer. That's not who is an essential worker in Florida. An essential worker is often someone who is older than me, someone who has children to take care of at home, someone who needs somewhere to live to be able to work effectively and to be able to better themselves. And those people deserve basic things to enjoy life as well, like time to themselves, be able to have time off to request to see the doctor when they get sick. And so I really think that for me personally, seeing the difference in how much groceries I can pay, knowing that I would be able to move out on my own once we get to $15 an hour, knowing that I would be able to afford my groceries, afford transportation, which in Orlando is very expensive if you don't have a car, which is the case for a lot of essential workers.
Right.
Being able to just live a life with dignity, the kind of life where I can afford to sometimes go out and eat, to take care of myself fully, and not have to ask my friends for help when I run out of money for transportation because I'm not making enough to get to work. It's the passing of Amendment 2 is a basic ask. So people really need to think, are you willing to give people lives with dignity when they answer this question? Because that's what they're really saying.
Oh, a word. Thank you so much for that, Sammy. And I wanted to ask you, does COVID-19 affect the necessity or the urgency of passing Amendment 2 at all?
So I will say, as someone who worked through the entire COVID pandemic, which, not all Starbucks workers had to do, but I was fortunate to be able to keep working and keep making money while also going through a tremendous amount of stress about what I was bringing into my home, what I could be potentially exposing my father to. I had to go through a tremendous transition at work, and I was one of the most vocal people about making sure that my store was meeting the basic standards for COVID-19 and even exceeding those. I really advocated strong to make sure that I had access to masks, and to make sure that I had access to plexiglass and things like that we needed in the store in order to ensure that we were even more safe than the basic standards were demanding. Because as we know, in Florida and throughout the country, we've had very low standards for how to protect ourselves during this pandemic. And when people put their lives at risk in order to care for others, I think that they deserve a raise. I think that, I put myself on the line to make sure that our healthcare workers and our first responders had coffee so that they could stay up when they were working long hours, and that they had food when they needed a meal break. And I think the least that we could ask for is that those people get a raise.
Hey, thank you, Sammy. We appreciate you for sharing your story today. And again, and sharing the importance of voting yes on Amendment 2.
Yes, thank you so much. And I just want to add that the best way you can thank us is by voting yes on Amendment 2. We all deserve that raise. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you everybody for tuning in. At this time, we turn it back over to our hosts.
Thanks. Wow. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Elton. Thank you, Sammy. That was incredible to hear from you. So now we're going to bring back CJ, and we're going to do a quick check to see how these phone banks are panning out.
All right. Thank you. Again, my name is CJ. And before I get into the numbers, I'll talk to you guys a little bit about exactly what these rooms look like. So first off, we have an Amendment 2 room where our volunteers will be reaching out to voters and just informing them on the amendment and what that looks like for the state of Florida. We have our Biden-Harris room in English and Spanish because diversity. So we can inform people about how urgent this election is, right? There's a lot of people out there that are, maybe complacent. Maybe they're seeing something on the news that's saying that, Joe Biden is leading by 177 points or something crazy. So they're like, oh, I don't really have to go out and vote. I think he's got this all wrapped up. And we all know how that worked out in 2016. So we want to make sure that we are getting people out to vote in record numbers. I mean, we've seen record numbers of turnout just on mail-in ballots alone, right? And then the last room that we have is the text banking. So for some people who want to help but may be a little shy, anxious, introverted, don't really feel comfortable speaking to strangers one-on-one, you can absolutely spend your time volunteering and texting voters as well. Now, I do want to stress the importance of what we're doing here, right? Because I know, if you're watching this right now, you've probably already received at least 700 different calls and text messages from people volunteering and trying to get you to vote for this person or that person or vote on this amendment. And I completely understand if you're over it, right? If you've just gotten so many of them that you're just like, I can't wait for November 4th when this will all be over. But understand that we are an extremely large state, and it matters that we do reach out to these people, and we reach out to people who may not have had these conversations. To give you an example, I was doing some phone banking last week, and I spoke to a woman in Miramar. She's originally from El Salvador, and I spoke to her about Amendment 2, and she kind of got into her story a little bit, told me that she was an essential worker making less than $15 an hour, and because of those low wages, she was having all of these challenges just to get by on her day-to-day, whether it was from childcare or transportation to get to work. So all of these obstacles that really shouldn't exist in someone who is committing 40 hours a week of their time to help a business grow, right? Because you're not just working for your own benefit, right? You're not working for a paycheck. You're working for the economy. You're working to build these businesses. So if you're devoting an amount of time, like 35, 40 hours a week, then you deserve to live in comfort. You deserve to be able to support your family. I don't see that as a radical idea. So once I was able to kind of inform her about the amendment, it really changed things for her. And that's one of those rewarding feelings that you get knowing that you have opened someone's eyes to exactly what's on the ballot. Because we get so caught up in the presidential election. We get so caught up on what's at stake on that end that we tend to kind of, put the other things on the back burner. And something like Amendment 2 is just as, if not more important than just the presidential election, because these are your day-to-day issues that you're dealing with. So again, if you're interested, if you want to be able to kind of make that impact in your community and let people know exactly what is at stake and how they can personally benefit by educating themselves on every aspect that's on the ballot, definitely give us hit us up, www.floridaforall.vote/volunteer. Sign up. We'd love to have you. We need as many volunteers as possible. And as you can see, we're clearly having a ball working here, and we'll be, chugging along until 8 o'clock tonight.
Cool. Wow. Wait, so I have a question. So if I'm phone banking for the first time, like, what's the process? Because it can be a little bit, I think it can be a little bit daunting to some people. Like, are you going to help me know what to say? Or am I just going to get on a phone and then call up somebody and like convince them to go?
Wing it?
No, I know. Absolutely not. No, okay. Because, and I'm speaking for myself, right? I don't like to toot my own horn, but I like to think I'm a pretty good trainer. So what happens, how the process usually goes is once I'm, able to get someone to sign up to volunteer, I will set up a training. It's about a half an hour where I pretty much show them exactly how to use the dialer that we use. It's all through your laptop. You don't have to use your own phone or your own phone number. So when you're reaching out to these people, they don't know, they can't get in touch with you personally. And then I'll show them our script. We do have a script, and I look at it as more of a blueprint, because we do want people to inject their personality into these conversations. We want them to be as conversational as possible, so that when you are calling these voters, it doesn't sound like a robot. Like, oh, I wish that you would have found a on our amendment. Like, no, we want you to sound like a human being with thoughts and emotions and opinions and feelings. So, you know, we even go as far as doing some role play, right? Like if there's a lot of people in the training, we'll have a couple of them just kind of step aside and do a, you know, caller versus voter role play. That helps them get loose, especially if they are, you know, first time phone bankers, right?
Yeah.
So it is it's a very thorough training, and then right after that training, we'll actually have if their time will allow, we'll have them just go right into a phone banking, and then afterwards, whether they're on for an hour and a half or 2 hours or so, we'll debrief, touch base back in the Zoom room, and just kind of, you know, go over some positives, some negatives. Maybe they got a question they weren't prepared for, and we can address those issues at that time. I'll tell you a story. I had one of my very first volunteers. She's really quiet, you know, timid girl, and she had never done any volunteering before. She, you know, we did the role playing. She was just very kind of like, oh, well, you know, what did they say this and what did they say that, but very sweet, and she actually is in college now for poli-sci. So like this is just up her alley, right? Fast forward couple of months, she's one of my most dedicated volunteers. She gives at least 2 or 3 days a week, wow. even during the school year, right? So she finds time to devote, and she absolutely loves it. She'll give me updates and say, oh, I was able to convince this person about this thing, or I was able to change their mind, or, you know, I had a conversation with a woman for, you know, 15, 20 minutes. Like those are the kinds of interactions that make what we do, you know, worth it, you know, because a lot of people get in their heads that, oh, if you're getting calls from, you know, from volunteers or from phone bankers, that it's a very unpleasant experience, or you're getting hung up on all the time. And and that could not be further from the truth. There are so many people, at least with this particular election, there are so many people that want to talk about things, and they want to get these things off their chest. They want to share their opinions. And if you can kind of open that door and show them that, you know, you're a welcoming you know, caller, trust me, you'll have people on for a very long time. Oh, looks like I just got an update from our banking, and it looks like we are just over 10,000 contacts already within the first half hour. So we are, for lack of a better term, we are killing it out here, y'all. Thank you. You guys are amazing. I appreciate every single one of the volunteers that's putting in this work, and honestly, I appreciate everyone that they've contacted for allowing them to interact with them. So
yes, absolutely. Oh wow, that's good. That feels good to hit 10K in the first half hour. I gotta say, and I feel like this transitions really well, because not to make this about me, because it's not. But I started as a volunteer, and I entered movement spaces about a year ago, and now this is my life. This is my world. And I just wanted to say that if you care, like if you want to step up for your communities, if you want to find your community of people who care as well, sometimes it's just hopping on a phone bank and being amongst a group of people who feel motivated to spend their afternoon calling and reaching voters about amendments or different candidates. And I think that's really special. So I really do encourage everybody to get out there, find your political home.
No, that's definitely true, Emma. That's the same way that I got involved as well, doing phone banking, actually with Mr. Elton. And it just it just kind of fuels your passion for it, because it's like, wow, this is my community, this is our state, these are, you know, these are real people who we're affecting, and you know.
Exactly. So I kind of want to see if we got any selfies. Like I want to see who's watching. I want to see the voters.
Honestly.
Okay.
Nicole, Miami.
Oh, Team Glasses.
Miami.
Ow.
Team Glasses. That is so funny. Okay, so now it is my pleasure to introduce an incredible group of people doing the actual groundwork to enact change in our communities.
Yes, it is. I'm excited for this whole event, but I'm definitely excited for this part because, because as I was saying, the organizer who brought me into Movement Spaces, we're about to meet her. Her name is Aurelie Colon, and we're also about to meet my friends, Karen Cordillo, Gomer Al-Hassan, and Mayor Andrew Gillum.
Hey.
Hi.
What's up, everybody?
Hi.
Hey, Evan and Emma, can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Oh, good. How's everybody doing?
I'm great now.
This is
well, I am excited to join y'all, especially after that big 10,000 contacts made announcement. That's pretty dope for us to all join in. A couple claps and snaps in favor of that. I'm wishing everybody a hello from Tallahassee, Florida. This is Andrew Gillum, former mayor of Tallahassee, Florida, and now just excited to be part of this conversation with some of the best leaders that we have, organizers in this organizing space. I want to welcome Karen and Arieli and Gomer who are out there doing their thing. And I also want to acknowledge just the tremendous work, energy and effort that's coming to this organizing event this evening. 10,000 contacts with voters already made, only 40,000 more contacts to be made tonight. And I've got every belief that we're going to do that. I'm excited about the conversation that we're about to have, quite frankly, about organizing. So often we find ourselves in these moments where our skills and our talents are being called upon, where our hard work and our sweat and our tears are being shed on street corners, on doorsteps, in face-to-face contact with voters. And rarely ever do we take a moment to just celebrate and listen to the stories of those individuals who are out there doing the organizing on a day-to-day basis. So thank you to Florida for All for this convening space. And I'm looking forward to just jumping into the conversation with you all around how we, quite frankly, lift each other in this moment, and also, I think, challenge one another to rise to even higher heights. So with that, y'all, are we ready to kick it off?
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
okay, there we go. So listen, I'm going to provide just a little bit of background on each of our presenters for the next several minutes. And then I'd like for each to just go in with just a little, frankly, a little deeper story of themselves, what brings you to this work. Because rarely ever are any of us in this thing for the job or for the paycheck. No disrespect to anybody or any organizations, it just don't pay enough for us to be doing this kind of work with this kind of energy. And so we know that there's something greater, something more that brings us to this space. So help me welcome, I'm going to introduce each of our panelists for the evening. Karen Cordillo, who is with Flick Votes, first-generation college graduate and DACA recipient, leading Florida Immigrant Coalition Votes with the Florida for All Coalition, sees elections as a way to mitigate injustices and violence for working-class immigrants and BIPOC communities. We're going to hear a little bit more from Karen, but before we hear from you, Karen, I'm going to go on and introduce really quickly Arieli, who is with the Florida Alliance of Planned Parenthood, who is Puerto Rican and is a Puerto Rican organizer who graduated, all right, get it, Boricua, who graduated the University of South Florida as a woman in gender studies major, worked in the 2018 election cycle, shout out to the 2018 election cycle, to get folks to vote, and is now organizing with the Florida Alliance of Planned Parenthood affiliates to protect reproductive freedom, and obviously a woman's right to determine her own health and her own health future. And then I want to welcome Gomer with Florida, with Flick Votes, that is. An immigrant from Sudan, attended the University of Central Florida as a neuropsych major. Get it, get it, get it. Works with Karen at Flick. Votes as the digital organizer for Broward County. Shout out to Broward. And sees working with our communities as a way to really, really, truly create change. With that, by way of a little bit of a biographical introduction, I want to toss it to you real quick, Karen, for a little more personal introduction and why it is and what it is that brings you to this important work.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to be here with y'all, especially Areli, Gamer. We do work every day. I'm Karen Caudillo. I'm an organizer with Flick Votes, leading the team this election cycle. And I think my story itself really just starts, in Naples, Florida. It's a rural area. Now it's getting busier, but it is predominantly white, right? And it has one of the largest income inequalities that you can find in the whole country, right? We have like Papa from Papa John's down the street in like multi-million-dollar homes. And then we have farm workers 40 minutes away, literally making like pennies per bucket, right, of tomatoes, of whatever crop is in season. And I think growing up in that environment, I always knew that, I had to work a lot harder just to attend college, just to be able to afford anything. And it really just had to do with my immigration status. And I saw the way my people were treated, right? And I always say this story, and it always makes me really emotional. I remember riding a school bus and making plans with my best friend Brenda to watch High School Musical. That same evening, my dad dropped me off at her house, and her whole apartment was empty. They were so afraid of ICE. They were so afraid of being detained and split up as a family that they were willing to leave everything behind, not even say goodbye to their best friend, right? Just for safety. And so that's why I do this work, because I don't believe in people having to flee, another place that now they call home because they already fled home. Due to safety. And so that's why I do this work. I do this for my sister, who's a first-generation Mexicana Americana who is voting in this election. And she literally texted me today and was like, I'm casting my ballot in your honor. I registered 6,000 people to vote at the University of Central Florida. And sometimes I just think of like how many people are literally voting for their neighbor, and like that's me, right? And I think that's what brings me to this fight.
Awesome. Arielle, we want to toss it to you.
Well, thank you so much. Like Karen said, it is an honor to be here in the space with the people that I organize with, and as well as you, Mayor Gillum. My name is Aureli Colonda Rauri. My pronouns are she, her, and ella, and I'm the Miami organizer for Planned Parenthood Votes. I actually started organizing in college by orchestrating the first slut walk on campus, along with my fellow organizers in the organization Safe Home, to demand a zero tolerance policy against perpetrators of sexual assault on campus. From there, I actually obtained an internship with Planned Parenthood, where I organized around reproductive rights and Latinx history, creating a workshop that delved into the birth control trials and forced sterilizations of Puerto Rican women, which is a very dark history that isn't really spoken about. And as we see, is continuously repeated, especially with the news of ICE detention centers forcefully sterilizing women. So now I continue that work as an organizer for Planned Parenthood Votes Today.
Awesome. Thank you. Tossing it over to you, Gamer.
Hi, thank you. And yes, I do want to echo the sentiments of both Areli and Karen. It is an honor to be working in this space, FFA, and to be able to do what we do, and also, just reach the voters that we need to reach. I guess what brought a few years ago, coming of age in the time of Standing Rock and Trayvon Martin's murder, it kind of opened my eyes to how a lot of our institutions work against us and not for us. Throughout my undergraduate career at the University of Central Florida, I was vice president of Students for Sensible Drug Policies, which we analyzed the ways in which the drug war was is really just a racist, classist war that is meant to stigmatize drug use and really just punish people. So with that, I then joined Next Gen, where I met Karen, and she definitely introduced me into the electoral side of mobilizing. So it's been a great trip since then. I definitely believe in building power within our communities, and our communities, well, let me change that. Our communities are so powerful. I believe in us, joining in solidarity with them. And yeah, that's why I do the work I do.
I love that. I love that. So y'all can't hear the applause from everybody else. So I'm gonna snap it up on behalf of everyone who got to listen to that. Honestly, I know that if we can lift up the individual stories of everybody who is tuning in tonight, you would probably see a wide-ranging panoply of similar stories like the ones you all told about what brings you to this work. And I just want to say, on behalf of all of us who are on the listening side of this, thank you for bringing yourselves fully to the work. I know it's part of what powers you forward. And quite frankly, it's what gives a lot of us inspiration in those down moments when we need a little bit of a pick-me-up, when we think our struggle is just that much greater than the next. We get to hear some of your own individual experiences that I think kind of puts it all back into perspective. So thank you again for sharing that. I wanted to just, mention, although, each of us do slightly different work, and in some cases have had some overlap in our own previous working experiences. The truth is I think that we're all united in a pretty common and collective struggle. And I also think that in this moment, this political moment that we find ourselves, we're united in a desire to win, and not to just win an election cycle, but to truly win on the issues that animate us and motivate us in this work every day. But I also have to acknowledge that so often when we're laboring in the field, if you will, the metaphorical field, and in some cases, the literal field, we don't often look up, in my opinion, look up as we're on these journeys and take stock of the wins. And so I'm really curious to know if each of you would be willing, just sort of in the same order, to just share, just as we're on the eve of an election, before we get to the win-win, which may be the win in an election cycle before we get onto the policy win, just share with us an experience that you've had just so far on this journey that you would consider a win and that you would want us as a community to collectively celebrate right now in this moment. Arielle, if you don't mind going first.
Of course. So as Planned Parenthood votes, one of our biggest wins was actually unseating anti-abortion Democrats Kim Daniels and Al Jaquette. So both of these state House representatives voted yes on House Bill 265, which is forced parental consent for young people obtaining an abortion. So although the vote was casted on party lines, both Daniels and Jaquette voted against their party and voted to pass House Bill 265, which is a bill that puts vulnerable young people at risk for violence and being forced into a pregnancy that they may not want. So it also forces young people to navigate a tricky and biased court system if they do not want to get consent from their parent or guardian, all while already navigating accessing stigmatized reproductive health care. So through these amazing events that our organization has had, like a Drag Me to Vote by Mail, drag event, and other community events, we were able to mobilize our supporters who then mobilized other voters to go out into the primary and vote for Abortion Out Loud candidates, Angie Nixon and Omari Hardy. So Angie Nixon and Omari Hardy are also not any candidates. Exactly. Angie is an organizer, a Black Lives Matter leader, a mother, and the former lead of Win Justice organizing in the state of Florida. Omari Hardy, who still has a race in House District 88 to win, the C, went viral early in COVID-19 as a commissioner who stood up for Floridians who need access to basic utilities in the midst of a pandemic. So that is definitely the biggest one in our book, was very early on in the primary elections, unseating those anti-abortion Democrats.
Yep. Arielle, I really think that speaks to the power of these primaries, which a lot of people sort of pass over to get to a general election, but it oftentimes is the inflection point that can change the whole future trajectory of how a race might go. And so congratulations on those.
Thank you.
I guess I can
Yeah,
go next.
and Karen, forgive me if I think I may have jumped the order there, so my bad if I did. Okay.
No, you're fine. I think we're all having like a really great conversation, and I think like because our coalition has so many partners, it's really nice to see like what Planned Parenthood Votes has done, what everyone else has done, because we don't always get to see it in real time, right? We'll hear about it later on,
Right.
and so thank you so much for sharing, Aurelie. I think for us, honestly, we got some amazing candidates through their primaries, and it really made a difference in our community. One of our top ones being Eliseo Santana Jr., who's running for Pinellas Sheriff against Gutierrez. Gutierrez is a white supremacist. He's a racist. He honestly just preys on vulnerable, people of color and undocumented communities. And so for us, getting Santana through the primary really proved to us that we have the power, we have our community behind us. And I think we're going full force to unseat him, right? And to show that we're going to put the first, not only like sheriff there who believes in accountability, but Latino, right? And like, a lot of the times our community is afraid to report, domestic violence, like robbery, any type of like violence towards them because they're afraid of being deported. And so we need to change that kind of relationship that we have in our community. I think another big one, and I might let Gomer expand a little on this because she's down south, but Daniela Levin Cava for mayor in Miami has been one. I'll let her talk about that. But for me, my big win was Pasha Baker in House District.
No Pasha.
She is a queen. Honestly, today I was out in Seminole County putting down signs, and I saw people holding her signs, and I was just so proud. She won her primary by 138 votes. Yeah. Which is honestly still leaves me like speechless. I think it's incredible to not only have that representation, but have people that really are gonna like make decisions with us in mind, with our undocumented community, with our working class community, with our BIPOC community, right? BIPOC meaning Black, Indigenous people of color. And I think for us, like those were some of the big wins. I think for me personally, and like as an organization standpoint, this is probably the year that we have ran the most robust like Flick Votes with Florida for All program. We had honestly one of the largest digital volunteer events probably in Florida history. We had 1,000 text banking volunteers in one day. A team of 6. Just get that. We've had a partnership with Pod Save America, and we are their official Adopt a State org. And I think just having that partnership, getting connected, and making sure that people, not just in Florida, but all over the country that know that Florida is on the line, that this election is so crucial and important, not just for us, but literally the future of the Supreme Court, the future of so much, right? Like Aurelie was saying, like abortion rights is on the line, DACA and TPS and other future immigration cases are on the line. And so for us, that was a big win, mobilizing nationwide and winning in those key races.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Hey, Gomer.
I guess I'll go next. So yeah, definitely just echoing Karen, Flick, a highlight this election season can definitely be Flick Votes is our volunteer team. They are like all props to them, but they are intense. They go at it every time, and they are like from all over, not just the country, but the world as well. We have volunteers from the Netherlands, from UK, from Canada. Like people really show up because fascism is a real threat. So yeah, to see that happen in real time has been amazing to watch. We have technology and we're using it to our benefit regardless of the pandemic. So that's definitely been a highlight, as well as I believe that with Flick Votes, we've definitely had the opportunity to open up spaces for our communities to have very important conversations that easily get overlooked in electoral work. Karen has spearheaded a lot of community conversations with Florida farm workers and understanding the history of Florida farm workers, understanding rights, understanding what life looks like today as a Florida farm worker, not just as for the farm workers, but generationally, what their families are going through, what they go through, and the amount of legislation that has either been ignored by the state or like passed over. When we talk about, you know, strengthening our communities, we have to account for everyone, not just who may be our, you know, run-of-the-mill standard voter. And we also had a really, really, really in-depth panel by sex workers on what this election means to them, what politics has looked to them, and like what we can do as non-sex workers to, you know, strengthen their cause, fight for decriminalization, go to the ballots and hold these candidates that we're voting for accountable to protect every single member of our community, not just like the ones we deem viable, because that what's any better than the opposition if that's how we're doing things. So yeah, that's been the highlight of this campaign so far.
Awesome. Thank all three of you for highlighting some of those wins. Again, I don't think it is a superficial task for us to every now and again just sort of take stock as we're on this journey of where we're seeing wins, and then frankly where we may be experiencing some setbacks on the road to victory. And that really leads me into my final question for you all as we wrap up this particular section. 2020 has already been a hell of a year. I think we all have to acknowledge COVID, climate catastrophe. I ain't gonna even talk about the White House. It is what it is. It's above me now. We're in the election cycle as we see it. But I think oftentimes in this space, we all see individuals and organizations rallying toward a particular election. And sometimes we do a little bit of disservice to those in our communities and constituencies that the conclusion to that election is the end of the process. Meaning, now that we have solved this issue, all of the other issues that we are concerned about, that we're all motivated around, will be resolved as a result of the outcome of any election. I would just like to hear just from each of you, maybe in reverse order this time. So, Gamer, I think we'll start with you this time, and then on to Kana and then Aurelie. Could you tell us, what would you tell a voter is the next step for them after Election Day? So assuming we don't find ourselves in a constitutional crisis the day after Election Day, assuming democracy takes its proper form and we have a peaceful transition of power, what would you be telling the individuals that you've just now had to motivate that it's important to go out and vote and why the vote matters? What do you say to them as the day after Election Day, as a thing for them to do the day after?
Well, you know, to create real change, we can't rely on elections as the sole means of mobilizing or creating that change. If you going to the ballot box and, you know, submitting a ballot is not enough to create lasting change in your communities, because like you said, these issues are going to be there after Election Day. These issues are going to be there while we wait for whoever takes office. These issues are going to be there while Senate and the House debate over legislation. So these issues are real issues. So go into your communities, see what the people in your communities need, feed the houseless, clothe the houseless, find mutual aid, support mutual aid causes, build your community. Do not let it end at Election Day, because elections are only one tool in our toolbox of, like, you know, reforming the world we live in. And that's definitely what I would say to that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Karen?
Yeah, I mean, I'll echo everything that Gamer said. I think mutual aid, right? We've been seeing a lot of like fridges pop up. You know, there's a lot of folks in the disability community who can't go out and, you know, even risk going and getting their medicine or undocumented people who are just afraid, right, during COVID. So definitely reach out to your friends and families. Make sure that you're organizing around the needs of people. Make sure to attend, carefully or virtually. Keep in touch with local issues like city council, right? Yep. Orlando became a trust city. That wasn't just because we waved a wand, right? So stay involved. And yeah, legislation session is coming up. So stay involved. There's a lot of bills that we need to kill on the floor. I know E-Verify has been floating around. Just stay involved in different works that you care about.
Yeah, I'll echo what everybody says because, after the election, the work is far from over. We're not only fighting politicians, but we're also fighting the systems that have been in place since the start of this country. Racism, homophobia, xenophobia, transphobia, ableism, fat phobia, like they are alive and well in this country, in this world. So when this election is over, find your political home, like your community that is going to fight to hold politicians accountable, as well as destroy the systems that hold marginalized communities down. So if you're here today, that is the step in the right direction. Keep showing up and keep fighting.
Those are powerful answers. I didn't even have to preface us with brief. Y'all got that in there beautifully. Just want to give it up again for these three powerhouses who are not only powerful in their own right, but also are coming from causes and organizations that are every single day getting up there, standing in the gap on behalf of those of us who, quite frankly, may or may not know you are there, but you're showing up repeatedly regardless. And so, listen, everyone who's on the viewing side, we just want to thank you for, again, taking time out, putting in the work, making the phone calls. And as the four of us in this panel know that, quite frankly, you're going to be committed not just till Election Day, November 3rd, but in the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, and so on, because the work that we have to do to dismantle these structures, which pre-exist my birth, which pre-exist the birth of my parents and even my foreparents and beyond, right? So that work didn't get here overnight, and they won't be solved overnight. And that's why it requires us continuing to show up every single day as our full selves, bringing all of us and our full being to the table in order to eradicate the many problems that I think all of us are far too familiar with. And so shout out to the passage of these amendments, which are going to allow for people to have access, quite frankly, to work with dignity and an earning with dignity. But we also want to get to the kind of world where our dignity isn't necessarily connected to our work, where we're born into this space with dignity. And then we have laws and process that reinforce our ability to exist here as whole, indivisible people. So I want to wish everybody the very best between now and Election Day. Keep making those calls and those contacts this evening. And let's just stay in this fight together. And the only thing I would say to you three kick-ass organizers is, as representatives of not only your organizations, but of yourselves, that I want you to also pay attention to your own self-care, to take care of you in this process. This is hard, arduous, painstaking, painful work. And I would just ask that it is not anything to be embarrassed about, to take care of you, to take care of your heart, your mind, your spirit, your personal space while we're in these fights and in these battles. And so good luck, everybody. I wish you exceedingly well. Handing it back to our two wonderful MCs.
Thank you.
That was awesome. I really hope you guys took away a message from that, because they really spoke their hearts, what their passions were, and we just appreciate the energy for real.
Yeah,
that was amazing.
It was amazing. Thank you to our incredible organizers, and thank you, Mayor Gillum, for being here. We are honored to have you. Yeah, I mean, I'm like a little speechless. I feel like
same.
Like, let's check in on the phone banks.
Yes.
You guys are a little starstruck, huh? All right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, no, I was low key jealous. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mr. Gillum, but that's cool. That was really dope for him to show up for us. That's dope. All right, so yeah, I got some updates for you guys. I will let's go ahead and jump into one of our banks, right? So we have let me give you a bit of a count first. We have 35 volunteers in the Biden-Harris phone banking for the English speakers. We have 16 volunteers in the Amendment 2 phone bank. We have 16 volunteers in the Biden-Harris Spanish-speaking bank, and then we have 60 volunteers that are text banking. So
wow,
we have a significant amount of volunteers working tonight, and that is absolutely amazing. I mean, to see the level of engagement that we're seeing from people that that realize what the investment is and what's at stake is it's right. Very inspiring. Now for numbers, I know you guys are asking. You're wondering what the numbers are. I know.
With the numbers,
the anticipation is killing you. 43,825 voters have been reached. Yeah, right. Thank y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good night. So no. Okay. So a little breakdown of those numbers. We have 17,000 voters contacted from the Biden-Harris English speaking. We have 5,400 voters reached for the Amendment 2, 1,425 for the Biden-Harris Spanish speaking, and then 20,000 for the text banking. And yeah, that's I mean, we are more than almost at our goal, only halfway through. So keep plugging away, guys. You guys are killing it. I'm not surprised. I knew you had it in you. Yeah. I'm just glad I was able to witness the greatness here.
Yeah.
We're all doing the doggone thing, okay?
So one thing that has been a strange adjustment in these times has been obviously having an electoral campaign in the middle of a global pandemic is, unprecedented. Mm-hmm. The word of the year. So I want to take it back to when we can do field work because it's still happening. And right. So I want to show a video of some of the canvassing that our campaign has done and some of the work that we are still getting to do in the field.
Hi, my name is Adir Yarrow. I'm 30 years old. I'm a field organizer for Hard Knocks, for All. And I currently manage anywhere from 13 to 15 canvassers daily. We go from door to door, we knock on houses, from Republicans to Democrats, non-affiliated. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to motivate people to go vote on November 3rd. Tell them any information they need to know about ballots, where they can drop them. But mainly what we're trying to do is we're trying to find what is the number one topic that influences the most when they go to a voting booth. We have from getting Trump out of office, from the economy, from security, for Black Lives Matters, for racial justice. All these things are where we're trying to find out motivates them to go vote. My first vote when I was 18 years old. And being a Cuban American, I came from a dictatorship where vote didn't matter. We didn't vote for anything. We had the same leader for all our lives. So it was very exciting for me. I grew up just loving politics, wanted to experience what it is to actually have a say in things.
Okay, hi, my name is Nizelia, and today I'm going from door to door to get people to explain on why they're voting and why it's important to them. I also feel like it's important to me because I get to hear their opinions and things on why they think they want to vote and why it's important to them in the world and the economy, I guess. And I also think it's important because as a young adult, we get to use our voice. and it also leaves us flirting, and that's pretty much it. So about a month ago, I felt like this would be a great opportunity because honestly, I never got a chance to vote. So this educates me more on like why it's important to me and my future. And I also think it's important because I get to express myself, which is a big thing for me, and I also get to learn more.
Hola, mi nombre es Amanda. Es muy importante para nosotros que salgan a votar. Por favor, no se queden en casa y voten. Gracias.
Wow.
That was awesome.
I miss doing that in person. It's really cool that we still have the opportunity to do so.
Right.
So I know I said that before was my most excited moment of portion of this event, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. This is also really exciting.
There's a lot of exciting moments, so I don't know if we can but this is definitely crazy.
Yeah. Okay, but I'm gonna let you introduce what we're seeing next.
All right, so we have a special feature from the lovely, talented, beautiful Miss Angela Bassett. So yes, let's run it.
Who do we want to be? When it's all said and done with the 2020 presidential election, how do we want to be remembered? For me, I want this moment to be remembered by our courage. I want us to be remembered for finding the strength to fight in the face of adversity. I want this moment to reflect the significance of losing over 200,000 Americans, many Black and Latino. I want it to be said, those are folks who knew their power.
Can I just stand that Black queen for 5 seconds?
You can take your time.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, cool. Well, guys, now we have two very special members of our team, Erica and Jabari, who have been doing absolutely incredible work digitally, telling stories. Hey, Erica.
Hi, y'all.
What's up?
Yes,
Erica. We're going to talk about digital work and how we tell our stories.
Great, please tell us. Work in our stories.
Well, first I'll introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name is Erica Grajasco-Peralta. I'm down here in Miami, born and raised Floridian. I work for a group called Community Change Action. I'm also with the Florida for All Coalition, which Community Change Action is a part of. So I'm really excited to be here tonight. I love this. I was watching Andrew Gillum earlier on the live stream. It's amazing to be part of this group of folks. Y'all do some amazing work. So I wanted to talk just a little bit about relational organizing, which I feel like sounds like a buzzword, and people are always like, okay, what is that? So let me just break it down real quick. Relational organizing, absolutely nothing new. I bet you 110% that y'all have done it before. It is essentially talking to your friends and your family. So raise your hands at home if you have talked to your friends or family about this election before. Yep, all of you, I'm sure. So it's really simple, really. The point is, we know that talking to our folks, talking to our people after the election about the issues that matter. So let's start that groundwork now. And I think I'm passing it back to Emma.
Yeah, thank you. Erica. It was great. Relational organizing. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's not. So, next, we are introducing a member of our digital organizing team.
Yes.
The one, the only, Jabari Nichols. What is up? What is up?
How's it going?
It's great. It's great.
Great.
You're gonna tell us a little bit about.
Yeah, so this is great. We're wearing some of the swag. So I'm Jabari, digital organizer, and I got to work on a special campaign that now has T-shirts that we're rocking with an organization called Amplifier Art, and with an organization called New Florida Majority, which I work with, and I'm in the coalition because of. This was a really dope project because it's really about democracy and the importance of our democracy. And we wanted to make sure that we could talk to young folk who really understand the importance of this election, but it might not be used to voting. And so we created these 3 artworks to really talk about this political moment with COVID, with Black and Brown need in a lot of ways, and then also with Trump. So this first artwork piece says "Vote for Our Lives," which really comes from the idea we've lost a lot of our community members because of COVID. We've lost a lot of our community members because of immigration deportations. We lost a lot of our community members because they don't have adequate health care. We lose a lot of our community members, specifically Black women, because doctors don't listen to their needs. We need legislation, and we need legislative people in office who are going to make sure they have our lives at the center when we vote. And we're not just voting for politicians, we're voting for ourselves. I think that was an important conversation to have with this art piece. And as you can see, the design has 3 Black women because Black women are some of the most vulnerable communities, whether that's cisgender, trans women, whether that's women with disabilities or not. There's just a lot of ways that they're neglected by our politicians, our communities, and their needs are unheard. So that was an important message. But also when it comes to COVID, we lost over 200,000 people. And it was really important for us to say our president hasn't listened to doctors. Our president hasn't made sure that people are wearing masks and social distancing. And he's really left us out to dry. He didn't give us enough funding and support, which really leads us to our next piece, which is a project that says protect your neighbors. And this piece is really important because it talks a little bit about several different things. Black and brown folks are overall an overwhelmingly majority of essential workers, which means they didn't have the opportunity to work from home. Only 1 out of every 5 Black people even had the opportunity to work from home because of their job. Then we didn't have social distancing happening in Florida the way that we needed it to. We didn't have a governor or a president who was really dedicated to this process. We also had to protect our families, right? We have to vote. We still had to be a part of the electoral process. So this artwork really speaks to that. Protect your neighbors and go vote. Make sure we have legislators, presidents, city commissioners, school board members, mayors who are going to make sure your neighbor is safe. Don't just vote for your self-interest. Vote for your community's interest. Vote for the people you don't see, but also vote for the people you wave hi to every morning. Vote for the people you see walking their dogs. And then this leads to our last piece, which is really, even if you vote to protect your neighbor, you got to vote some people out. We have a lot of folks who believe in the ideology of white supremacy in office. There's no place in our political office for people who believe in white supremacy. We have to vote out white supremacy. Voting is not the only way to get rid of white supremacy, and it's not probably the strongest, but it is really effective. It is a way for us to engage with millions of people. It is a way for us to talk and have a conversation about what white supremacy is. Voting allows for a lot of education to happen. I also want to give a special shout out to the director of New Florida Majority's comms department, Cheryl Wade, because she is the one who came up with that language. And I think it was very strong. We have to get white supremacists out of office for Black and brown folks to be able to be valued in this country. As we hear a lot of the situations around immigration, abortion, these are ways that white folks are going to hold on to their power in this country. And we have to make sure that these folks are not taking over and overpowering our ability to live, flourish, have dignity, and support our families. So I'm really grateful to be able to talk to you about this campaign, this artwork. We did banner drops across the state in Tallahassee, Gainesville, Pompano, and Miami. We've been able to get billboards up. We've gifted pop-up murals to universities, HBCUs, such as Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, where I attended, and also Bethune-Cookman University. We're doing banner ads. Make sure you go to our website when our people vote in order to get free stickers. And also join us this week. We'll be launching a raffle on Dream Defender's Instagram where you can get free t-shirts if you win. I really appreciate y'all's time. I really appreciate y'all taking the steps to make sure that we have a true democracy. And I appreciate all of y'all for using y'all's power to make sure our future, our children, our family members are safe in the state and in this country.
Thank you, Jabari.
Thank you so much, Jabari.
I love these designs. I love the shirt.
Vote out white supremacy.
Vote for our lives. Like, this is no joke.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's check in on our phone banks again.
How's it going, CJ?
Hey, I'm a little jealous I don't have one of those shirts. I gotta get one of them shirts. I want the vote out white supremacy. I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't have any orange anything, so I need some orange in my life. All right. All right, check in. We have got 43,000 texts, 6,000 contacts for Amendment 2, 22,000 contacts for Biden, Harris. We are we've clearly blown our target out of the water, but we always like to go above and beyond, right?
Yes.
So the hustle don't stop just because we hit the top. You know what I mean? So we're gonna keep going until this party's over. But definitely, man, you guys, everybody's killing it. I'm loving it. This is what I come here for. Look at them volunteers plugging away. We got them young. We got them young too. Look at that young one over there. Did it?
Oh my gosh.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. This is what I do it for, man. To see this kind of work. But thank you guys, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, Emma, I guess this is my time, huh?
It's your time. It is your time, and I am so excited for it. So,
Yes.
over to you.
So I would like to introduce my song. My artist name is Nave Season, and our Del Eternal song, Your Vote Matters. Introducing this song, it was a really powerful experience creating it, reaching the very people who look like us, who stay in our hood, even the old neighborhoods that were victims to gentrification that we featured in the video. Just understanding how truly our vote matters. And it's just funny to me because I've been on like the Get Out to Vote campaign since I was like 6 years old, the Bush and Gore election. But it was a truly impactful experience to be able to create creative content that reaches to Black and Brown people in our communities. And having people singing it and really understanding the message and then adding the music video to it really shows like the impact of it. So like even when we included the rest in peace to Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and Elijah McClain and Ahmaud Arbery, it was just really impactful because we see how what we do in our communities, how we vote, the officials we vote in, they truly have an impact, and starting from the bottom up. So we vote in our local elections. It was just truly special. And I know unfortunately Ardell couldn't be here, his work schedule. But just knowing who he is as a Black man, as a mentor at our church, as a barber who speaks to people every day. He speaks to different people who are of marginalized communities every day and hear their stories and see how they've been impacted by the system. We've been impacted by the system, just being Black, a Black man and a Black woman. So it was truly just special. And understanding that our ancestors literally died for this. So it's not the most that we could do, but it's the first step to, changing our communities and impacting, just how we our standard of living and, all that good stuff. So I'm excited, to feature the video. Let's run.
So excited to see it.
Let's run.
We all got a voice. If we make a course and they don't have a choice, they gon' hear us loud and clear. Let's get in their ears. The hood needs change, the school system too. Why all this construction take forever to do? Let's get together and see what we need to do. I said you got a VOT to get what you need. Your vote matters. Yes, your vote matters. Yeah. Said you got a VOT to get what you need. Your vote matters. Yes, your vote matters. Yeah.
The teachers need pay. The cops need to watch it. The government should be for the people, not for profit. We all got opinions, let's make it count. If you gon' vote, sing it out when we bounce. Say the teachers need pay, the cops need to watch it. The government should be for the people, not for profit. We all got opinions, let's make it count. If you gon' vote, sing it out when we bounce.
With me. V-O-T-E, to get what you need. Your vote matter. Yes, your vote matter. Yeah. Said you got a V-O-T-E, to get what you need. Your vote matter. Yes, your vote matter. Yeah.
This year, I'm voting for the future that my son grows up in, and I want him to grow up in a world way better than ours.
As a young Black woman in today's society, it's really hard for my voice to be heard, but I made sure it was going to be heard this election. Go out and go vote, because I know I sure did. Your voice does matter.
As a returning citizen, my vote means a lot to me. So I'm going to make my voice heard, and I'm headed to the polls on November 3rd. And I really encourage y'all to do the same. Thank you.
It's so good. It was so good, Evan. Congrats. Thank you for making that.
No.
I feel like we should just end it now. Like, let's end it on.
No, as much as I want to, just kidding. We have more to cover. Like, how are you voting, Emma?
What do you mean, how am I voting? I'm voting.
No. Okay, all right. Yeah, but how are you voting? You have options, Emma.
Oh.
Right. So many options. But I'm going to tell y'all how I'm not going to vote this election. I'm definitely not putting my mail-in ballot in anybody's mailbox, because you know how that goes at this point.
Mm-hmm. No, if you can avoid that, you absolutely should. I'm certainly not voting on election day at any peak times. If I were to vote on election day at the least, I'll do it on like around midday if I could.
Right.
Okay, so that just leaves early voting.
Period. Voting early in person is definitely your best option right now.
And probably bonus, even better option is I could take my mail-in ballot and I could bring it to an early voting location and I could put it in a drop box.
Yes.
Absolutely. You just got to make sure, this is important, make sure that your ballot is scanned and you do not open your ballot for anyone, not even your mama.
Oh,
not even your mama.
I'm sorry.
And and ready to win in line no matter how you vote, because we're not just voting for this election, but we are voting for our lives. So remember that.
That is right. We are voting for our lives. Speaking of which, CJ, how are we doing right now?
All right. Well, I mean, you obviously know we've already surpassed our goal. However, the final numbers are 94,800 voters have been reached, everyone.
Where did that come from?
I ran into a cow on the way here. I don't know. He let me borrow this.
Right.
But no, we got 61,000 text contacts, 2,300 Spanish Biden calls, 25,000 Biden English calls, and 6,500 Amendment 2 calls. So, I mean, I couldn't have asked for a better turnout. This is amazing. You guys rock. The volunteers rock. The watchers rock. The voters rock. Everything is gravy. I'm loving it. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. We did it, y'all.
Good. As long as you're satisfied, CJ.
Right.
That's amazing. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you all. Like, this is awesome. This is awesome.
We hope you know how much power your voice and your vote holds.
And we hope you realize how powerful we are when we stand together.
Winning this election is just the first step.
And our fight for racial and gender equity will continue long past Election Day.
So let's cross this finish line, Florida. We'll see you at the polls.
Bye, y'all.